Hi, and we are back with another episode. Sorry this is coming so late due to some unforeseen circumstances. And again, here is,
Marcia Hours,
and she will be cooking for you tonight.
breakfast casserole or brunch casserole.
Okay, that sounds good. And she's going to share some more of her childhood stories.
Mm-hmm. Maybe some stories from adulthood also, maybe.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, Mom. So,
Okay, we've got a dozen eggs. And I'm going to spray this with Pam. And we have to, of course, crack our eggs here.
Mom,
Yes.
tell us some stories while you're cracking eggs and things.
Okay. Which story would you like to hear?
I don't know. I think our viewers would like to hear some more of your stories about your family growing up.
Oh, okay. Well, we grew up in a small town. As you might have heard before, it's one of those towns that you can blink and you miss it. It has, I think, only around 300 and some people. Now, when I was growing up, it was probably near twice that size. But there again, the town doesn't have the school anymore. And I used to go to a small town school, and I went there first through 8th grade.
Did you have many friends in school?
No, I was kind of shy. And it seemed like when I did make a really good friend, they would move away. So that was kind of hard for me.
Yeah, I can imagine it would be.
But it was a small school, and in one of those old-fashioned type buildings that you see.
One-room schoolhouse?
Yeah, and for a while, it housed all 12 grades. But then in 1969, they consolidated with another town.
Yeah.
So then the high school wasn't there anymore.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Tell us the story about that when you were telling me about when you had to take your brother his lunch.
Oh, yes. Well, the first part of school, for some reason, I didn't want to eat in the cafeteria much when I first started school, so I let Mom just get our lunches ready, me and my brother. And my brother was about 4.5 years older than I was. And
Now, is he your only brother?
yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And anyway, I'm just stirring the eggs right here while I'm talking. A dozen eggs.
So, yeah, finish your story about when your brother.
Yes, I think he was in about the 5th grade when I was in the 1st grade. And back then, I would always eat bologna sandwiches for my lunch. And I think sometimes I'd take potato chips, and my brother always had ham that he would take for lunch. And I noticed that I got the wrong lunch. So me being the shy kid that I was, his classroom was upstairs and mine was on the not the basement floor, but the one below that. Anyway, I noticed that I had the wrong lunch and had ham in it. And so I gathered my nerve because I was really shy, and to a 1st grader, I was going up to some of the big kids' classes. And I went up there and asked for my brother. And I think my brother was embarrassed because his little sister came up there. And he denied that the lunches were switched. So I walked away because I didn't want to cause a scene. And so I had my brother's lunch, and he had mine, even though he denied that he had the wrong one. And just a side note there, nowadays I hardly ever eat bologna. I don't really like it that well. I would prefer ham if I was packing a lunch, but that's what I liked when I was a kid. And I also love to have my mom get these snowballs. I love my snowballs for dessert. And I don't get those too often anymore, but I must have really had a sweet tooth back then. I still do have a little bit of a sweet tooth, and I still get them once in a while, but not near as much as I did when I was a kid. I just used to just really love those snowballs when I was a kid. Yeah.
So, for YouTube's sake and for our viewers' sake, I want to let them know that we're in the process of remodeling. So, as you will see, things will seem out of place and everything. Again, it's just because we're remodeling our house and our kitchen and everything.
Yes. Yes.
So please overlook it and forgive us. It is clean. It's just
Yes.
we're just remodeling.
Anyway, I think the eggs are just about done here.
So all you did was scramble them, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I'm going to add the ham, put in it.
So that's just cubed ham?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to add an onion to it. I like my onion. I don't know about anybody else that's viewing, but I just love my onion and things.
Yeah, onion's good.
Yes.
I'm going to be dehydrating some. We've got a whole bunch of them, and I want to try my hand at dehydrated onions.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Now, for YouTube's sake, is your hands impeccably clean and also the table?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So what was your mom like?
Well, she was a hard worker. If anybody listen to our second YouTube when we our second viewing, when we made that lasagna, that vegetable lasagna, I had mentioned that my biological father, he died right before I was 4 years old.
Now, you say you have PTSD from when he passed.
I used to, not now, but I think I did have a mild version of it, yes. And that was probably about until I was in the 5th grade, somewhere around there.
What would happen when you set the PTSD would be set off?
Well, I think that I had mentioned before that back in the day, I was born in 1958, and back in the day, not too many kids were without a father. And I think I was embarrassed being the young age that I was, and I felt different because other kids had a father and I didn't. And I didn't want to, strange as it sounds too, I didn't want to admit that to anybody either, that I didn't have a father.
How did you deal with that without going to counseling and stuff?
Well, there again, back in the day, they probably didn't recommend counseling as much as they do now, back in the day. And
so how'd you overcome it?
well, I talked to my aunt and another older woman from church about all that, and it just seemed like around the 5th grade, or at the end of the 5th grade at least, that I just kind of outgrew it.
That's good.
Yeah. But yes, I would. I think part of my PTSD was when I would hear sirens go off. It would just really kind of get me aroused, not in a good way. Understand? I mean, it would just kind of scare me. Because I guess there was the memory of my dad going in an ambulance, and I didn't like those sirens.
Was you there when they took your dad away?
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's just really hard on a little kid to lose a parent like that, and I really understand, because they just have a lot of emotions that they have a hard time dealing with. Excuse me, I have to rinse off these green peppers here before I cut them up.
So, was you on medicine when you were growing up for your PTSD? And
Oh no. There again, back in the day, they just didn't recognize things like that as much. The only thing I knew was I didn't have a father, and I felt kind of left out because I didn't have a father, and I didn't want anybody to know what was going on with me either. I had no idea really of what I was going through as a little kid, but that's just how I felt. I mean, I guess I had didn't have a name for it or anything. But it's just something that I eventually talked over with my aunt, which is a sister to my mom. She was about 19 years younger, and she dealt with young people quite a bit and counseled people. And she talked to me, and a friend that was a little bit older than her, which was also a friend of ours, talked to me as well. And it seemed like after I counseled with them, it just kind of started disappearing. That phase in my life just started to disappear, and I just outgrew it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So is that a bell pepper that you're putting in? Okay.
Yes, yeah, I'm cutting it up here.
So, what would you recommend for people nowadays dealing with stuff like that?
Well, don't keep it inside, because I did for many years. And if you have a child that's going through something like that, really keep an eye on them. And, do what you have to do to help them get through that. Of course, we aren't living in the same times that we were back then. I mean, you've got all kinds of families now. You've got a lot of single parents now. And my mom had to work, and of course nowadays there's a lot of women that don't stay home and aren't housewives, just housewives, as it was back then when I first started school. And my mom worked.
So, do you have another job in addition to YouTube?
Do I?
Yes.
Yes, I work for Help at Home, and I've had some other people to work with before, but right now I've just been working with my older son, who has autism.
Now, what degree of autism does he have?
He's severe.
Can he talk?
Once in a while, as you know, he'll say a word. But I've been working with him, as you know, on sounds and words, like I did in the past. I've been doing it for years. I just, as a mother, I just don't give up.
Now, what about your other son?
Yes. The funny thing is, he was adopted, but he also is on the spectrum. Even though he's not blood related, he is also on the spectrum, and he's 17, almost 18 years old.
Now, is he verbal?
Yes, absolutely.
Does he go to public school?
No, he did, but he was bullied. And so, as you know, not the audience, but as my daughter knows, the one that's filming this, that I have been homeschooling him since last year.
Now,
And-
is he going to get a diploma?
Yes, the way I understand Indiana law, I can sign a diploma for him. Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Now, for YouTube's sake, you're not just going to pass him and give it to him. You're,
Oh, no.
you're
No.
making him work for it, correct?
Oh, yes.
I've seen him come a long way.
Oh, yes. 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 Anyway, for our audience here, we've got the eggs that we've cooked with the green pepper and the ham cubes and the onions and the green peppers. And we've got our oven heated to 325.
Now, did you put any oil in that pan?
No, I just try to use the Pam as much as possible.
Well, this is the off-brand of it, but that's what she's using.
Yes.
It's a non-stick cooking spray.
Yes, non-stick cooking spray, you might say. I try to use that as much as possible because I really think that I really and truly believe that all this oil most Americans use is really not good for us at all. It really isn't. And so that's how I try to do things. And we got our 2 cans of sweet corn.
And now, do they have salt added or are they no salt?
No salt added.
Okay.
And I just buy the cans.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got 2 cans here, and I'm going to add that to the mixture here.
Okay.
So, this dish can be used for breakfast or brunch or any time, really. It's about time for our, some people call it supper or dinner or whatever you want to call it. But it would make a good meal. It makes a good meal for any time of the day, whether that be breakfast or lunch, or you want to use it for brunch or some other type of meal. So I'm going to put this in a pan now, and we've got the oven preheated to 325.
Now, what kind of pan are you going to put it in? A baking pan?
Yes. And it's already been sprayed with the cooking spray.
Okay.
Yes. And so
And for YouTube's sake, I am also adopted by my mom.
yes.
And I'm documenting all her life and her life stories and different things because she is has been a very good mother to me, and I want the world to know.
Yes, thank you, Juliana. I appreciate that
You're welcome,
very
Mom.
much.
I love you very much.
Thank you. That's so sweet. Anyway, we have 4 kids. Juliana is the oldest. And our son, Devin, who is severely autistic. He was diagnosed at 3 years old.
Now, is he biologically yours?
Yes, he's the only biological child that we ever had.
Why didn't you have any more biological kids?
Well, we had thought about it. Me and my husband had thought about it, and you just hear of so many cases that of it happening again.
Mm.
And uh, we just didn't want that to happen because there's a lot of work that goes into it,
And ironically, Bryn now, your youngest son, he has a chromosome depletion. What number of chromosome is that that's partially depleted?
uh, I'd have to look again, but I think it's number 15 or 16. However, I don't understand all that chromosome stuff, but that's what he has.
And now, your other daughter that you adopted, does she have any autism or anything?
No. She was identified as mildly mentally handicapped. However, she leads a pretty normal life. She's married and has 2 boys. One's 13 and one's 7.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Now, her youngest, he's got several problems.
Yes.
Now, what are those, Mom?
These are hash browns.
Okay.
Yes.
So, are you cooking them separate? Or do you put them in with the eggs?
Well, I think that I'll just put them in here
Okay.
like this.
Yeah.
As you can see, they're just in little pieces.
Mm-hmm.
You can either cook them before you put them in the oven, or just put them in there cold.
Okay.
As with the corn, you can do that too.
Yeah.
So, now we've got our hash brown potatoes. So far, we've got the dozen eggs in here, and we've got 2 cans of corn, and we've got the cubed ham, and 1 onion, which was about average size, and 1 green pepper, and now I have added these diced potatoes here,
That sounds good.
or hash browns,
Mm-hmm.
as you might want to call them. And I'm mixing it all up.
So you were blessed to have a family with special needs children.
Yes.
Some people would think that it was a curse, but what's your take on that? Is it a curse or a blessing?
Well, my attitude certainly had to change when my oldest son was diagnosed.
How did you react to that?
Oh, it was just devastating, because I just felt like I felt like I'd lost a son, and it was just really just a devastating thing. And I've heard of other parents that have reacted that way too, and I know that I didn't lose a son, but what I lost was my original dream for him. That's what I lost.
Yeah.
And so I had to create another dream.
But you've done a real good job with that dream.
I'm sorry, folks.
It's okay. It's understandable.
But yeah, it was a hard time. Especially when I would see other kids that seemed normal, and mine had problems. But my faith has greatly helped me. And God told me that I could either wallow in my self-pity or make something good of it.
And you've really made something good of it.
Yes. Yes, I've tried to.
You saved my life when you adopted me, because as you know, I was a suicidal alcoholic drug addict, and you took me out of all that.
Yeah. Well,
So what's your take on it's a blessing or a curse?
well, uh, you know, there's a lot of autism in the world, and that's one thing that I had to learn. That at the time, about 24 years ago, it was still kind of a little bit unheard of, but then I found out that there was more and more cases rising, and and there continues to be today. So we're certainly not alone, because it's a very common diagnosis,
Yes.
and I forget what the number is in the United States of children that have autism, but it has grown a lot.
Well, thank you for saving my life and not giving up on your children. Do you mind if I take and show Devin?
Oh no, he's a good guy. He likes to smile a lot.
And there he is. Devin, put your hand down. There he is.
Yes.
I'm the only one that he'll let shave and cut his hair and clean out his ears.
Hmm?
And Mom's the only one that he'll let brush his teeth
Mm-hmm.
and help him with his deodorant.
Yes.
But when he sees a conflict, he'll go up to the person that's being picked on and give him a hug.
Oh yes. So I truly believe that he may not be able to talk a lot, but he understands a lot of what's going on.
Oh, yes.
But anyway, as I said before, we've got 4 kids, and Juliana is the oldest, and then I have a daughter, Rose, that is married, that has our 2 grandsons, 13 and 7 are their ages, and then